I think that when you're investing outside of your backyard, that's where relationships really come into play. Similar to investors investing with operators and general partners, you have to know, like, and trust them.
Welcome to the Going Long Podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And yes, I am your host, Billy Keels, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you back once again for an awesome conversation. Today's is really, really cool. So international flair, doing some in your backyard, long distance investing, you're really, really going to love it. So also too, we continue to move up the charts. Thank you once again. You continue to leave your honest written reviews as well as ratings, and that is helping enormously. And if you have not had a chance to do that, if you could just take a couple seconds to leave your honest written review as well as rating, even on the Apple Podcast platform, we've left a really simple link here. All you need to do is click it, and if you're having issues, just follow it, and it will show you exactly how to leave your honest written review as well as rating. Other thing, a lot of you are asking for old episodes. Like you want to go back and listen to one that in the very first season or whatever, and you can't find it on your platform. Go to Billykeelscom. Once you're there, go to the podcast platform or to podcast tab, and you will be able to find every single podcast from the beginning of time. So all of mine, at least. So go once again to go to Billykeelscom. Once you're there, go to the podcast tab, and you can find every single episode, audio, visual version, video version, the show notes and all that other kind of stuff. So just go there, check it out. And then lastly, a lot of you want to find out more about this accredited investor club and what that's all about. So send an email to aiclub@billykeels.com. Once again, that's aiclub@billykeels.com. You and I can get connected. We'll talk about what's happening with the accredited investor club, and it's going to be awesome. So send that email. That will be awesome. So listen, today we have a guest who is Canadian, who's actually living in the US, who is investing beyond her backyard, in her backyard, who started in the oil and gas space. So if you've started in oil and gas, or you come from a finance background or a chemical background, you're going to love today's conversation. If you've been through those cycles of, things are going well, and the gas is massive and doing awesome, and tomorrow it's not doing so well, and you just kind of want to get off that roller coaster and you're looking for something else, you're definitely going to want to listen to today's conversation, because today's guest is talking to you about how she's actually helping lots of people, high-paid professionals, being able to take some of the risk out of their life. She's also talking about a passion project that she has, helping single mothers to have clean, safe, affordable housing options in the area where she lives. And she'll tell you more about that. It's going to be fantastic. Talks about her story, finance background, accounting, family that was in oil and gas. And now she's doing something that is awesome, helping make a positive impact with and through real assets and real estate. So I know you're going to love today's conversation with our guest, Nicole Gauthier, and you're going to get to listen to that or watch it, depending on where you are, just after this. Whether you're an active investor or a passive investor, you really like your day job and you want to continue to go into your day job every single day feeling better, knowing that you've created the right options for yourself. At the same time, you just don't have enough time to really get your head around, spend all the hours investing long distance. Well, one way or the other, over the last number of years that I have been investing long distance, I've really understood a number of the major mistakes that you should avoid if you want to get to creating the right options for yourself much faster and being able to create more income sooner. And if you want to do that, if you want to understand more about that, I've made it really, really simple. You can just go to Billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. You can learn all the things that the 7 major mistakes that I've seen over and over again that I want you to avoid. Once again, you can go to Billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. So if you want to know how you can have your real estate investments generate community empowerment as well as positive social impact, then guess what? Today's a conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word, because today's conversation is really going to be wicked. You'll know what I'm talking about in just a few seconds. Because today's guest is not only the mother of 2 who is now using real estate as a tool to help to ensure safe, clean, and stable environments for those individuals that are living there, she also listen to this. She started in the energy sector and she was doing something called like joint venture accounting. Like that sounds really super interesting. She also had other roles, both in accounting as well as finance. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, the founder of Wicked Holdings, LLC, Nicole Gauthier. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate you having me on the show today.
Yeah, Nicole, you're not as excited as I am. And you're definitely not as excited as the entire Going Long family because they are going to love today's conversation. I'm absolutely sure of it. And so listen, so here's the thing though, Nicole. Now, I know you know this already and the Going Long family knows it as well, but you're going to get 5 questions, at least 5 questions, the same 5 questions that every single guest gets. You're going to get 2 in the beginning. You're going to get 3 in the end. And in the middle, we're going to get a chance to really know more about you, all the experiences that you've had, and also learn how you're helping to go out and impact so many other people's lives. So with that stated, I want to get started right away. Can you help us understand where exactly do you live in the United States?
Yeah, so I live in Houston, Texas. That is the main city. I'm actually just outside of there in Katy, Texas, which is a suburb. But everything that I invest is always inner city in Houston. For now, right. Anyway.
Okay, absolutely fantastic. So, and that sounds great. Also, too, I think a lot of the Going Long family knows this, but I used to live in the Houston area many moons ago, and so it's a place that I know very well, and it's one of these places that continues to grow and grow and grow and grow. So, awesome. Help us understand, what is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
Most positive thing, I would say, going to Santa's Wonderland. And I know it sounds kind of like silly, but we went last night with our kids, and our kids, that was the first time that they'd ever seen quote unquote snow before, and all of the lights and festivities. So it was just nice to be able to just, spend some quality time as a family and have them really just enjoy their time.
Yeah, that's really, really cool when you get a chance to get that quality family time. And yes, I can definitely attest to the fact that you don't get much real snow in Houston, Texas. Doesn't happen. Just one of those things. One of those things. You don't get much of it in Barcelona either. So it is kind of what it is. Here's the thing, Nicole. I give myself this impossible task. The entire Going Long family knows that I give myself this impossible task of trying to tell your entire backstory in like 1.5 seconds. Ain't gonna happen ever. So would you do us a favor? Would you please tell your backstory in your own words? The one thing that I do want to ask you though, is if you could think about some of the major decisions that you've made to get to this point in your journey. And then from there, we'll see how the conversation goes and where we take it from there.
Yeah. So as you had said in the introduction, I founded Wicked Holdings this year in January 2020 and actually 2021, sorry. And I come from an oil and gas background. My dad was in oil and gas as a chemist. My husband is in oil and gas. He started roughnecking from the ground up and went to school and ended up in petroleum engineering. And for myself, I have a finance background and ended up in oil and gas doing accounting work. And from that point, I realized, working that kind of 9-to-5 job, or I guess 9 to probably 7 in my case, that just really wasn't the life for me. Really wanted a lot more work-life balance and entrepreneurship kind of, always called to me in a sense. And I didn't really know what that looked like. But during COVID, I spent a lot of time really reflecting and figuring out what my passions really were, and realized, that I really loved dealing with homes. I really loved interior design. I like getting my hands dirty and learning like DIY projects and stuff like that. And I love dealing with numbers, but there was like one piece that was missing where I knew I wanted to be able to help others. And it took some, a lot of like reflection, but I realized that real estate was really the perfect medium to combine all of my passions, including helping others. And so that's what led me to my new journey now in entrepreneurship and real estate investing.
So you started in an area where not only were you working in the energy sector, right? Oil and gas, your husband's there, your father was there. And then 9 to 7, probably earlier than that, Probably later than that, by the way, but that's okay. You're being very humble. That's fine. You're amongst friends here. Don't worry. But then the thing is that you were looking for more, right? For a work-life balance. But I guess, like, what was it about real estate? Because I mean, you could have gone in a lot of different directions, right? I mean, there's a bunch of different directions you could have gone in, but what was it specifically about real estate that you said, what I'm looking for and what I'm doing, I probably want to go in this direction, at least as a first kind of option?
Yeah, so you're right about that. I could have gone a different direction. I actually ended up applying to become a speech language pathologist. I applied for some schooling and got accepted. I had gone through that GRE test. If anyone knows about that, that is a beast in itself. But yeah, I did all of that and realized, after I got accepted that I was like, you know what? I love it. I love that I'm able to help people. I love that I'm able to help children, but something about it was just kind of like pulling me in a different direction. And so with real estate, the reason why I guess I went that direction was because I knew that, my mission. So I guess backing up a little bit, I figured out what my why was, right? And my why was to be able to help single moms in abusive relationships and their children get out of those situations and into more stable, loving environments. And so with creating that why and that mission, that's what led me into real estate, to where I knew, okay, well, how can I battle this situation, this issue that is apparent and, happens all around us? How can I manage that on my own and really make a big impact, right? And so that's what brought me to real estate, where I was like, okay, well, I can develop my own portfolio and try to help house some of these women and, and these children into better homes, environments that are used from my own personal portfolio. So that's kind of what led me into really making that decision of sticking with real estate.
Okay. And so having a better understanding of that, and you have a very clear focus in terms of being able to help single mothers that have been in these types of challenging relationships, kind of what's the impetus for that?
Yeah. So funny enough. So actually, when I first started touring homes, knowing that, I wanted to get into real estate, I ended up, actually one of the first homes that I ended up touring was a single mom, and she had 3 kids, and they were living in, this house that I was looking to put an offer on. And when I went in and toured it, I saw that it was just, the conditions of it were terrible. Now I don't know if she, came from any sort of abusive relationship. That part of it, I don't know. But what I did see was that this family was being taken advantage of. I saw that, talking to her about the issues with the home, that the toilets were bubbling, the tub was backing up every time that it would rain. And we know in Houston, it rains often. There were holes in areas where, like mice and different things could get into the little boy's bedroom. It was a 3-year-old at the time. And they didn't have heat. There was just so much that hurt my heart after touring that home, that I was like, no, this is something that I need to directly get involved with. And I'm willing to put myself out there and front my own money to really get this going. And so that's what I did.
Okay. So you had that real life experience. You saw it face to face. And at that time, did you have children as well when you
Yes.
were? Okay.
I did. Yeah. I actually had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old at that time. And I pictured myself in there.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Like, how much of having your own children when you walked in, did that make an impact on you and potentially gave you the emotional oomph to move in that direction?
Yeah, it was huge for me. Like, I left very emotional about it, just because, as like a mom and stuff too, like I think as women, we're already like naturally empathetic and sympathetic to other people and their feelings. Right. But when you are a mom and you see another mom going through, a situation that you would never want to go through yourself, that really hits your heart and it hits you a different way. And for me, I'm a very emotional person already, not in like a bad sense or anything, but I'm just
you have a
very
very high EQ, probably is what
yes,
yeah.
I'm just very like in tune and care
Yeah.
about other
Yeah.
people, and so
Yeah.
that's really what hit me.
Okay. No, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, one of the things, so I appreciate you helping us understand where that drive for the mission comes from. But probably in the very beginning, when you said something, probably some of the people, part of the Going Long family were like, well, hang on a second. She says she only does stuff in the inner cities in Houston. Because of course, here, everybody wants to understand how you can feel comfortable and confident investing beyond your backyard. So I know that that's a part of your story, right? And and it's one of the things that I always tell people. I say, look, I read a lot of books, and most of the books that I read, right, I'm going to say 97% of them said that, hey, listen, if you're going to get into real estate, buy where you live, be the landlord, and just go drive by every day and make sure that you can do this and you can make the profit and you can do all this kind of stuff, right? And you can do that. You definitely can. I just fundamentally believe that that's not the only way to do it, because I've been doing it for over 8 years, living in Barcelona, Spain, and investing exclusively in assets in the United States, right? And so I know that you have a focus in, as of today, at least as of today, in the Houston inner city area. At the same time, I know that you happen to also passively invest, or you look at other types of opportunities that maybe are not in your backyard. And the thing is with that, Nicole, that really goes against popular culture, because 97%, and that's my own number. I didn't go out and look that up, anybody, so don't tell me if I was wrong. I probably am. But the large majority of books will say that. I'm always curious why someone would go against the popular culture and say, hey, look, I want to do this long distance thing, and I'm okay with investing my capital in a place where I don't actually live. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that, and then I promise we'll get back to what you're doing in Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that when you're investing outside of your backyard, that's where relationships really come into play, right?
Yeah.
So, the importance of having people that like, and trust in other areas, similar to investors investing with operators and general partners. You have to know, like, and trust them. And it's the same for, your own personal investments as well. So with me, like, I've passively invested in an asset that's actually in Mobile, Alabama. And I've never been to Mobile, Alabama or Gulf Shores area ever. But the operator that was running this syndication, I knew, liked, and trusted them. And I knew that, they were boots on the ground because they live there. And I can trust that they know what they're doing and that they can always have eyes on the site if need be. And there's constant communication that's going on. And so that's kind of where that passive investing part plays in. But then I've also been on the GP side, investing in South Carolina as well. And the same thing goes, having boots on the ground and people like, and trust.
It's so important. And it's just also a matter of being able to have that wide open mindset, right? And looking for opportunities and coming back to what you talk about, which is really building a relationship with someone that that you like and you trust, and being able to do your due diligence, and then being able to say, okay, this is one of the parts of the process that I want to make sure is in place. Everything starts with making sure that you are getting what you want, the benefit that you're looking for, your why, sometimes people call it. Then from there, you go to the location that gives you the highest probability of achieving that benefit. And then you build your team, especially with long distance investing. It's one of the things that's absolutely critical. If you don't have the team that understands the location, then you're probably not going to get a chance to get to the benefit that you're looking for. And then afterwards, whatever asset they buy, it should align to the other three things. And so I love that you talk about those areas of the team and being able to know, like, and trust them, because it is, I consider also too, one of the most critical elements of success when you are investing long distance. So appreciate you sharing that. Wow, don't you just love this conversation? This is amazing. This is fantastic. And so just really quickly, I just wanted to remind you, for those of you that are looking to create more options for yourself, get there faster, and do that with long distance investing, make sure that you go to Billykeelscom/7 mistakes to avoid, so that you can avoid all those mistakes, get to your goals faster and sooner. Once again, that's Billykeelscom/7 mistakes to avoid. Now back to the conversation. I want to come back. So I know one of the things that you really, that you lived, and this is one of the things that you have recognized and embraced, that you are someone who has been a resource for others, right? And I guess just maybe growing up. And I wonder if kind of how you've now grown into that, accepted that, and realized that there's great strength in being able to not only recognize that, but then be able to deliver on that thought of being a resource for other people.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that. I don't know, in my family and my friends, I've always been like the mediator and the teacher of things. And I don't know, I think I've just kind of naturally fallen into that. And my grandma has said before, I think you should have been a teacher, like, growing up, and maybe I should have been, but yeah, I just love like when I'm able to acquire knowledge and share that with other people and be very transparent about it. That's something that I'm very passionate about as well. And that's basically how I use my platform, and has, have grown my following and my reach, has been because I do try to provide value and teach about real estate and teach about mindset. And it's one of those things where when you read an awesome book, right? Like each time that you read a new book, you're always going to take away like something from it, right? Whether that's 1, 2, 3 things or more. But I feel like when you've taken away those things, you should also apply them. And when you can apply them and then teach about them, then it's almost like starting to make you an expert of those things as well, because it's constantly going through your head. And so for me, I love to be able to be that resource and teach and share knowledge and answer questions. It's a big part of what I do.
I think that's fantastic. And one of the reasons that you continue to make so much positive impact on others. I want to go back to the very beginning of your professional career and some of the things that you were doing. You talked about oil and gas as well. So I am curious, as you come from you have a more of a mathematical or finance background, let's say, and you spent your early days in doing things like joint venture accounting, which is really huge for anyone who's ever worked in or knows oil and gas or energy. Nowadays we call it, I guess. What did that early experience, how is that, I guess probably better, how is that early experience in what you were doing in the energy sector? How is that helping you today to help other people solve the issues that they're trying to solve through real assets?
Yeah. I think that because I did go through, that oil and gas life of the, really understanding how that is an industry that is very cyclical, right? It's one of them that, when things are going really, really good, they're going great. When they're going bad and the oil price is down and the gas prices are down, like, people are losing their jobs, a lot of layoffs. They are cutting back on salaries. You're not getting bonuses. So it's one of those where it's an industry that you have to really, ride the ups and downs. But people don't want to do that, right? So it's like, how do you mitigate against that risk? And so for us, like my husband's still in oil and gas, and I understand that we still live the up and down part of it, but not so much the down part, because now we've invested in, real assets that are tangible, that are paying us, that are giving us tax benefits and, all of the things that real estate brings that are positive, right? We're getting supplemental, like passive income that offsets if my husband's not getting a bonus or, there's pay cuts. And also for layoffs too, you are always going to have this passive income coming in because you've invested in this asset and it's continuing to pay you. So that's one of the big benefits too, that I've been able to live that and understand what it looks like and how I can really help, kind of shape that mold for other people.
That being able to have that previous background, being able to use that background, help to shape the vision for others, understanding what it's like to live in a cyclical sector is something that I am sure that you are able to speak to quite frequently. And then having it from the numbers perspective, I guess is always something that is helpful, because you can help people to understand, hey, look, at the end of the day, it's going to mean X, Y, Z for you or potentially for your family, which actually kind of keeps us kind of pivoting to another area that I know you're passionate about as well, which is the whole thing about helping people with financial literacy. What are some of the biggest barriers that you see to people becoming financially literate? But before you do that, how do you, because I know a lot of things, financial literacy means a lot of things to different people. What does financial literacy mean to you? And then what do you think are the biggest barriers to keeping people from being financially literate?
So financial literacy to me means having those basic, that basic financial knowledge that you need to just get through in life, right? So the basic things like budgeting, like understanding, creating budgets. How do you do that? Investing, the basics of investing, right? Brokerage accounts. Well, I guess if you're going into index funds and ETFs, that's not basic. But anything past the traditional 401k that all of your financial advisors generally just lump you into, understanding the background of that and how you can really kind of, use other assets to your advantage. Financial literacy also means to me like thinking outside the box as well. So dealing with home equity lines of credit, dealing with cash out refis and how you can use that to your advantage. Rental properties, passive income. I know I've like probably set off like all of these different things because I am passionate about that as well. But that's the thing is I like to understand those basics and really kind of like not dumb it down, but like make it into layman's terms so that everyone can understand without all the like the nitty gritty details of it. If they want that, I'm happy to give it.
Correct. Well, and that's one of the things that happens sometimes. Being able to lay out the runway to literacy means, clearing all the other things out of the way so that you can say, okay, in order to be financially literate, meaning take off, you have to be able to do step 1, 2, 3. And then that will allow you to first start saving. Once you start saving or you're generating active income, and that's helping to pay for passive investments. And then from there, I mean, it's just the step-by-step process and doing it in a way that helps others to not feel uncomfortable going, oh, what do you mean by that when you talk about the return on equity or something like that? So being able to have an area where people feel comfortable and being able to spell it out and being able to go into the detail if you need to, but really trying to keep things simple so that people can ultimately be able to take off, I think is a great way that you are focusing on things. So I have 2 other questions for you. Nicole, one happens to be, and I know that we talked about in the beginning, like you're a happy mother of 2 and you were doing corporate, you've decided to find this other passion. So you're now an entrepreneur, business owner. You're passively investing, you're actively investing, you're able to do lots of different things. And like, there's only 24 hours in a day. so how are you able to, I guess, what do you call it? And how are you able to keep the right plates spinning in the air and minimizing things falling?
Yeah, well, it's definitely multitasking for sure. There's honestly, so I've got a very interesting schedule because my 2-year-old is at home with me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that leaves Monday, Wednesday, Friday open for me where both kids are at school. So I heavily pack those days in with all of my investor calls, my trips to the rental that we've had under construction for the last probably 5 months, and any running around and underwriting, all that stuff I pack in there. And then honestly, from that point, my daughter has gymnastics on 2 of the evenings, and that's 2 hours that I'm basically watching her at the gym. So I take my computer and I work then, I take calls then. I basically fill up every little piece of my time when the kids are being entertained and whatnot, or in an activity. Then I'll go ahead and do that stuff. I don't generally, work as much on like the weekends and stuff, but I am a night owl. So once everyone goes to bed, it doesn't matter which part of, what day of the week it is. If it's 9, 10, 11 o'clock, like then I'll start working, and I can easily stay up till like 2 a.m. working or reading and stuff. So
your kids must sleep late then.
It's funny. They don't, but I feel like, most people say, oh, you need like 8 hours or 7 hours of sleep, but I honestly could probably get by on much less than that. And still feel like, still feel myself. But I definitely try to make time for my family and quality time with them. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, but it sounds like there's probably a very large Excel spreadsheet somewhere or Google sheet or whatever you do that keeps things going. Appreciate you sharing that. And, I guess the thing is I want to kind of get into the going long final 3, and we're going to get there. I promise. But before we get to the going long final 3, and I have to ask you a question, just tell us a little bit more really quickly about what you're doing at Wicked Holdings LLC, so that we can kind of have a better understanding of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at my company, I am obviously investing in real estate passively and actively. I am developing, I'm primarily invested in multifamily, and I'm trying to scale my business in that regard. So helping passive investors get invested so that they are mitigating, their sorts of risks with their jobs and their environments, and really just trying to create like a life that's abundant for them. So I help people do that on the multifamily side. And then I'm also creating, a small kind of residential, small multifamily portfolio on the side, to where I'm using that as like a teaching lesson for my kids. So I'm trying to create this legacy where, I'm being able to help others. So helping, putting some of these homes on Section 8 so that I can provide affordable housing to those that need it. When I first got started, I was really heavily involved with the single mom aspect of things with my home. And then I realized through talking through quite a few property managers that there's a fair housing discrimination thing that I have to be very aware of. So I've been partnering with charities to be able to help them directly as well. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, as I grow in the multifamily space, I'm really just using that to reinvest into other projects that some people might call passion. But I have an envision of creating this women's facility, and I won't get too crazy into the details, but it embodies all of what my why and what my mission are all about. And that I'm very, very excited for. So, yeah.
All right. So fantastic. So it sounds like a fantastic platform, and to be able to not only help others, also as an educational platform for your children. And I'm sure that there are people that want to find out more of the detail, and you are going to give them a way to get in touch with you so that they can find out more about how you're doing, what you're doing, how they're doing, and potentially how they can get involved in it. So, and if they just hang on until after the going long final 3, they're going to find out more about how they can do it. Exactly that, and get into all the detail that they want. So here's the thing, Nicole. We got to get to the going long final 3, but I never ask anybody the going long final 3 unless you tell me, because today you're the guest, that you're ready for me to ask you the going long final 3. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I knew you were going to be ready. I asked the question knowing that you're going to be like, yeah, of course I'm ready. I was ready before we even got started. All right, cool. Here we go. So we started with you over in Texas. And I think if people heard what you say, words like project and things like that, they probably recognize that you may not be from Texas, but we won't go into that today. They'll have to pick up with that in a different moment. But I would love for you to share with us, because we were on that side of the pond. I like bringing things back to this side of the pond to kind of wrap things up. What is your favorite European city that you have either visited or is still on your bucket list to visit?
Yes. So I really loved Rome, Italy. And, but I will say that I would love to go to Florence. That is on my bucket list.
Okay. So are we voting Florence then?
Yes. We'll vote that as my bucket list.
All right. Vote bucket list for Florence. Sorry, Rome. Rome's a fantastic place as well, but Firenze gets the vote today. So awesome. And so then the other thing is, this is just from my own experience with having had the privilege of working with and meeting a lot of very successful people. And Nicole, I consider you someone who is very successful as well. And one of the things that I've always noticed about successful people in this kind of pattern is that the majority of successful people, they tend to be very successful because they, unlike most people, they get things right the first time. Is it the first time or I always get that wrong. It's like I get it wrong every time. But of course, it's an inside joke, you know? So here's the thing. The reality is everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does. And really successful people like make a whole lot more than most people, like 10 or 20 or 50 times more than most people. But the reality is that they do things very differently. And that every time there is a very relevant mistake or learning opportunity, or however you want to call it, Nicole, when that happens, every single time successful people stop, they learn from the mistake or from the learning opportunity. And then they put tactics, strategies, plans in place to minimize the probability of that exact same thing happening to them again in the future. So what I'm going to ask you here in question number 2 is really to go back to the mistake or the learning opportunity, however you want to call it, not focus there, but what is the one lesson that you know someone in the Going Long family really needs to hear from you today so that they minimize the probability of the exact same thing happening to them?
Yeah, I would definitely say that involves developing teams and developing teams like the right people before you need them. This pertains in my situation to contractors because I started to vet them as soon as I had a property under contract. And or maybe like a week or so before that, I started to really kind of gather names and stuff. And I didn't know any better, right, at the time. But I've learned that if you vet everyone and you get referrals, specifically referrals from other people who have used, these people on your team, whether that's contractors or it's accountants or whatever the case, insurance people, but developing those teams before you need them so that when you do need them, they've already been vetted and they're ready to go and you have the best of the best. That is what I would recommend.
Fantastic. So making sure you're vetting your team before you need them. I'm just going to highlight that before you need them, yes. I think is absolutely fantastic. And I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then here's the last one, Nicole, really before we wrap things up is helping people to feed their minds with knowledge. What is the one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today? I'm
going to recommend The Millionaire Next Door. I'm currently reading that. I had another book in mind, but I can't recommend it because I haven't read it yet. But The Millionaire Next Door has been a great book that really has just changed my perspective and really helped kind of shape some of the thoughts that I thought about rich versus wealthy, millionaires, what they tend to look like versus what they don't. All of that is really encompassed in this book. And there's a lot of like statistics and numbers, which I love. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. It's an awesome read.
Fantastic. So we'll include that in the show notes as well, The Millionaire Next Door. And wow, I'm just thinking about the beginning of the conversation and you're talking to us about, being in part of the oil and gas industry, not just you, not just your husband, your father as well. And so, having that kind of background and being able to get in on the financial side of things, which is really, really cool. But realizing that you're in this industry that's very, very cyclical. And so when things are awesome, they're really, really awesome. And things when they're not so good, well, they're really not awesome. And so aside from that, and you were working, I think you said 9 to 7, but like I said before, you were probably working from 7 to 9, more than likely 7 in the morning until 9 in the evening, if not more. Yeah. And then if you were working late, as you like to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, you're probably even doing more hours than that. But you realized that that wasn't really the place that you wanted to be. And so as you realized that that wasn't what you wanted to be, you realized, well, that you had this opportunity and started recognizing and understanding more about real estate. And you understood how you could combine not just lifestyle, you could begin to minimize risk, take out some of that cyclicalness that happened when you're working in the day job, and you decided to go out and kind of get started in your own wicked holdings type of a way. You continue to help other people. You continue to be that resource for others. It's something you've done most of your life, as you talked to us about before. And now it's even taking on other dimensions where you're going out, you really specifically have a passion in helping single mothers to have the right type of environment for their children. You've taken a real active role in doing that in the Houston area. You've also continued to passively invest in other areas and also actively and lead syndications in other areas. And I know that there's so many people, Nicole, that are like, wow, she's got a lot of stuff going on. It's really, really awesome. I need to contact her. I need to talk to her. I want to find out more about her, more about what's going on at Wicked Holdings LLC. So please help us understand, Nicole, what's the best way for the Going Long family to find out more about you and what you have going on over at Wicked Holdings LLC?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the best place to get a hold of me is LinkedIn under Nicole, Nicole Gauthier, Gauthier. I'm on there often. And I would say that's definitely the easiest to get a hold of me. You can also head over to my website at www.wicked-holdings.com. And you can book calls with me and you can learn more about me and my family, my business, and what I stand for. So that is there as well. And I would say those are probably the two main places that you can get a hold of me.
All right, fantastic. So Wicked-Holdings LLC.com. Is that right? You said? We'll make
no
sure
LLC.
That no LLC. Okay. Yeah. Wicked-Holdings.com. We'll make sure that we include that in the show notes. So it's really simple. All you have to do is click and then you'll go to the right place. And I would say just in Going Long family, you know this already, but when you reach out to Nicole on LinkedIn, definitely let her know that you heard or saw her here on the podcast, because it's going to make your conversation between the two of you much easier, because you're going to just continue today's conversation. So make sure that you leave her a personal invitation to connect. So Nicole, this has been really, really awesome. I am very fortunate when we have people that build bridges and connect one another. And I know that the entire Going Long family is really appreciating what you've shared with us today. So thank you very much for investing your time with me and the Going Long family today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I had such a great time and sharing stories and learning more about each other. So it's been wonderful. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. Awesome. And Nicole, if you give me literally 30 seconds or less, I would just want to say the last words to the Going Long family. Going Long family, listen, Nicole really left a lot of knowledge bombs here for you. So I would pick up a couple of those, and she's given you great ways to get in touch with her, LinkedIn or website. And I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. In the same time, I am so looking forward to welcoming you back on the very next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Wow. Don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to Billykeelscom/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode. So go out and make it a great day.